Okay, now if you look at this scenario, I'm parked on the right hand side, but I seem a little bit of a distance from the curb, probably a bit further than I'd like to be, not just for a practical driving test here in the UK, just in general everyday life. So if I lower the mirror, this is what I always recommend to my students before they do reversing. So you can see here I've got the front door handle sort of in the middle of the mirror, measuring from top to bottom. I've got much more view of the curb now and my distance between the car and the curb itself. So to get a little bit closer, I need to turn it towards the curb, which is on my right hand side. So I'm going to steer obviously to the right. Okay, so quick check of my left and right blind spot, turn the wheel towards the curb and watch how the car starts to go closer. So I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm just looking for the door handle to look like it's touching the curb, about there. Right, now I'm going to turn the other way to the left, just to bring the front of the car in line with the back. Okay, again I've checked my left and right blind spot. Can you see how it's coming round closer there? Coming round parallel, sorry. Just keeping it relatively close. Wait until it's parallel, which is about there. Okay, and then I'll stop and brake and neutral. So if you notice there, door handle looks like it's touching the curb. I've got a smaller gap between the car and curb. Now this is more of an acceptable distance that you'd like to do between car and curb, again not just for practical driving test, just in general everyday driving. Now if I wanted to get even closer still, I could still go a little bit closer than I am now. So I'm just going to turn again right towards the curb, just to show you I can get a touch closer. So this time the door handle will look like it's overhanging the curb. So again, check my left to right blind spot. See, I'm steering right. Look how my door handle looks like it's overhanging the curb about there. So I'll stop there. You notice there's still a little bit of road you can see just at the bottom, which is here, just between the car and the curb. This will emphasize that I'm not going to hit it. Right, now I'm going to turn left and watch how the little strip of road there is getting a little bit longer. It's becoming rather like a little triangle shape, it's becoming like a rectangle shape now. Okay, so just waiting for it to look parallel, which is there, and stop. Right, there we go. So look there, I've got the door handle sort of overhanging the curb this time. So this is if you want to get a little bit closer. This is probably around about an inch or so from the curb. The previous one, when the door handle looked like it was just sort of touching the curb, when we generally got about maybe a 3 to 4 inch gap, but the gap you're looking at now is around about a 1 to 2 inch gap. So you've still got, though, if you look at it, there's a tiny little strip of road there just between the car and the curb. So that shows us we are very, very close, but we're not touching the curb. Okay, so this angle is an angle that's clearly facing the curb on the right hand side. So to get rid of this angle, first I'm going to go a little bit closer. I'm not going to turn the wheel though, because I'm already angled towards the curb. So I'm just going to let the car go straight with that angle, just until I look a little bit closer. Okay, right. Check my left and right blind spot again, looks fine. Right, start backing up. So look how it's getting closer, it's getting closer, it's getting closer. I'm just looking to get the little bit of triangle at the bottom really close there. So if I stop there, if you notice here, I've just got a tiny little triangular shape of road between the car and the curb. So that shows me I'm pretty close. Right, so at this point I'm going to have to turn left. So if I carry on with this angle, I'm obviously going to mount that curb. Right, so turn the wheel to the left. There we go. So it's just bringing it round parallel, and I'll straighten up about there. All right, so you can see that now, nice and close. Looks like my door handles are sort of touching the curb here, but I've got a little bit of road. If you look ahead, sort of here and here, I've got a little bit of road between the car and the curb. So I know I'm close, but I know that I'm also not touching. Okay, so this angle is obviously an angle that's facing away from the curb at the back. So my front is pretty close. My front tyre's basically just sort of touching the curb, but my back's obviously facing out. So this is how to get it closer. First, I'm going to have to turn right to get the back of the car closer to the curb and just angle it towards it. Then I'm going to turn left, just bring the front of the car round parallel with the back once it looks parallel. Okay, so again, quick checks for my left and right blind spot. Nothing going on behind. Off we go. Right. So first thing, I'm going to turn to the right to get it facing the curb. Here we we go. So I'm turning in towards the curb now. So you can see the car looks parallel now to the curb. And I'm going to keep that turn on to try and get me closer. Just have to wait, there's just a car just manoeuvring behind me then. Right, backing up a bit more. There we go. So you can see the car's going closer to the curb yet. I'm not going to go left yet though, because I'm not close enough. So keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'll stop about there. Right, so again here, just point out the small triangle I've got here. So at that point, my back's close enough, but now I need to turn left to bring the front of the car round in line with the back. Right, here we go. So again, check left and right, looks fine. That's blind spot, that is. Right, so keep edging, keep edging. There we go. Right, so you can see I'm just coming round parallel now. This little bit of road here now, I'm just waiting to become not a triangle, just looking like it's a long rectangle. Nearly there, nearly there. Keep going, keep going, keep going, and there. Okay, right, so if you notice that shape now, this little section here at the bottom was a triangle when I was angled towards the curb. Now looks like a long, sort of thin rectangle. All right, so when you can see that, if you look all the way down, you sort of track the curb as you're looking. Look at the car parallel here, and you compare it to the curb that's parallel there. Everything looks straight and in parallel lines. So this is how you know if you are parallel but not touching, but obviously relatively close, because you've got that little bit of strip of road there between the car and the curb. Okay, now during the park on the right, reversing back to car lengths manoeuvre, if you notice where I am now, my distance from the curb's okay. It could be closer, but this is perfectly acceptable for the test. The gap you're looking at is around about maybe between 4 to 5 inches from the curb, which is fine. Right, but if you go back and you've got, say, a little bit of angle, or maybe just a little bit of left turn on, what you'll find is the car will start to move away from the curb. All right. So what I'll show you now, I'll intentionally just put a little bit of left turn on. All right. And what you'll notice is, look at the back of the car. Look like it's going further away from the curb. Can you see? It's very subtle. I'm just leaving that left turn on. Look how it's going further. Can you see? Look, I'm going further at the back, further at the back, further at the back. So if I stop it just there briefly, you can see the back of the car. If you plot it all the way at the back here, it looks like it's facing sort of away from the curb rather than looking like it was in parallel lines when I started. So at this point, what you've got to do is recognise and go, oh, I'm going further away from the curb there. So you've got to turn right back towards the curb. So if I turn right back towards the curb, look how the back of the car is now coming closer again. But because I've angled away, I'm going to have to leave that right turn on, so I'm closer, which is about there, door handle touching the curb. So I'll now start to turn it left, because I've had to take it closer, but obviously I'm angled. Bringing it back to the left, just wait until it looks parallel again, which is there. And I'll just straighten up and stop. Right, there we go. So I'm back straight and parallel again, which is where I started from. Okay, now another thing that could happen on the park on the right manoeuvre is when you look straight, as we do now, what sometimes people do is as they're backing up, they might have a little bit of right steering on, which starts to take them closer to the curb the more that they go back. Okay, so this is what it'll look like if that's the case. So again, check your left and right blind spot before you start. Looks okay. So I'm going to intentionally put a little bit of right steering on. So what you'll see is the back of the car, look at the gap between the car and the curb, it's getting thinner and thinner. Can you see it? So it's just edging and edging. It's very subtle because I've not got loads of steering on. I've only got a tiny bit of right steering on. But look at the car actually going closer to the curb. All right. Now, if I don't do anything about it, say now, if I don't turn left now, if you notice, look, that left turn just brings me away from the curb like that. But if I carried on, just put the right turn back on again. If I keep going, keep going, keep going. If I get to that point about now, oh gosh, it's just about to hit. If you look here, there's hardly any gap at all between the car and the curb, so it looks like I'm going to hit. So the best thing to do now is to go forward in a straight line. Okay, that will take the back of my car away from the curb. Okay. Right, so here we go, just nudge it forwards. Now look at that, I'm creating again. Can you see here at the bottom here? and creating a bit of road space again just by going forward. I'm not turning the wheel. There we go. So I've created a little bit of space, and I'll stop there. Right, so you can see I've got a bit of space now, so I'm going away. Now at this point I can either carry on going forwards and turn right, which would do this. Can you see? I'm bringing it round parallel again, which is there. So that's one option. So I can carry on going forwards just to correct that angle and get it parallel again. The other option is if I go back to that position where I was, just turn it back in. So if I go, where was I? About there. So that was a bit of road space I created. So I've gone forwards to create that space. What I could do now is just reverse, and because our back's facing the curb, I now need to turn left just to bring it away from the curb, which would do that. And there we go, parallel again. So it's either or really. So you ever feel like you've not got much space reversing, you can always just pop it in gear 1, just move forwards to get away from the curb or to realign, so get yourself nice and straight and parallel to the curb again. Then you can pop it back in reverse and then carry on reversing back for that distance of 2 car lengths.